Lady Rose the name, now you know. Taking you places wherever we go. News you can use, truth in the flow, and real talk on your favorite shows. Ooh, it's Lady Rose, catch the vibe, come on, let's roll. From travel tips to all the tea, she's breaking it down so effortlessly. So hit that like, don't miss a beat. Lady Rose World, it's fire, it's sweet. Ooh, it's Lady Rose, catch the vibe, come on, let's roll. From travel tips to all the tea, she's breaking it down so effortlessly. So hit that like, don't miss a beat. Lady Rose World, it's fire, it's sweet. Lady Rose the name, now you know. Taking you places wherever we go. News you can use, truth in the flow, and real talk on your favorite shows. Ooh, it's Lady Rose, catch the vibe, come on, let's roll. From travel tips to all the tea, she's breaking it down so effortlessly. So hit that like, don't miss a beat. Lady Rose World, it's fire, it's sweet. Yeah.
You cannot. Hello. Good evening, good night. It's late. It's really late for me. I'm normally in the bed, but I went to the beauty shop today, and it's always a long event. So that's why I kept putting the chat, the thing off a little bit because I had to go. After I left there, I had a taste for something to eat, so I went by and got me some food. But we're going to get into it. I've been watching this show on OWN called Unlock Family Secrets. And believe it or not, this is a great series. I'm not sure how many episodes is in the series, but so far we've done 3 different episodes. And when I say each one of them has been great, I am out of my office because my husband's in the room and my office is connected to our bedroom. So I don't want to keep him up. So we're going to start with episode 1. I'm going to do episode 1 and 2 today, and then I'm going to come back and do 3. Hopefully, if not tomorrow, Sunday. I missed Bell Collective tonight, so I got to watch that before I go to bed. Just a lot of things on right now, so I got to learn how to get me a little groove going so that I can pay attention to everything that's going on. Please like, share, and subscribe to this page. My name is Lady Rose. I give you all of the news you can use. I try to bring news that's local, world, and our government. I try to bring you celebrity news. I try to bring you a variety of things I figured out that I figure you could use in your life. And we do those on Saturday mornings per se. So we'll be doing one tomorrow morning. I got a list going of things I need to be looking at this afternoon or tonight before I go to bed. We're going to do that tomorrow. I love reality TV, but I don't watch everything. I have my picks and chooses. Love and Marriage Huntsville, Real Housewives of Atlanta, Real Housewives of Potomac. Trying to think, is there anything else I watch? I got a couple that I've been asked to watch. I think I'm gonna do, and Unlock Family Secrets is really good. So I'm really enjoying that. It's on OWN. So if you haven't had a chance to watch it, catch up with it. But please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for those who have subscribed. My subscriber count has been going up, and I am grateful for that. Let me give my fair use disclaimer. Some material in this video is used under U.S. copyright fair use section 107 for purposes such as commentary, criticism, news reporting, and education. Tonight we're going to be doing some commentary. I'm not going to be showing anything that's would interfere with fair use. I'm just going to be giving you some dialogue back and forth of what I thought of the show. My banner that I'm going to use tonight is going to be all views expressed in this live are alleged. They're in my opinion, and they're all for entertainment purposes. And we're just going to sit down here and talk a little candid about what I found on the show, Unlocked Family Secrets. Great show. Great show. I really enjoyed watching it. Episode 1, I kind of thought was weird. I was like, they better pick up the pace. And when they picked up the pace, they picked up the pace. Episode 2, episode 3 was on fire. So let's start with episode 1. Episode 1 was called The Preacher's Secret. It was about a pastor, right? A pastor who was married, and his wife's name was Lydia Murray, and his name is Dennis Meredith. The wife starts off narrating the show when it comes on, and she said she thought they had the perfect Christian family. Lydia was born in Macon, Georgia in 1952, the beginning of the Civil Rights Movement. She talked about how Jim Crow was in effect when she was growing up. She was one of 10 children. She had 5 older siblings, 4 younger. So she was right dead in the middle of those children. She was raised in church. In fact, her sister said that they had no social life because all they did was go to church. Her sister also said Lydia was the smartest one of her mother's children. Hey, Jinju. Hey, Jinju. Hey, Ginger. Hey, Symmetry. I'm sorry. I would not call you what Butterfly calls you. Hey, Ginger. And hey, Symmetry. Thank you for joining my live tonight. I am so glad to have you guys here. In fact, let me send over real fast. Let me send over a share to a couple of people. But yeah, when I tell you this show, even that episode, it was a great episode, even to watch. And okay, there we go. So even with the sister saying that, she said out of all of her siblings, she kind of felt like, well, she said that her sister was Lydia was the smartest one. So she went through and said that Lydia had received a scholarship to Vanderbilt University. If you know, Vanderbilt is one of the most prestigious colleges in the United States. And she graduated in 1973 with her undergrad, and she received her master's in 1975. So she went boom, boom, boom on out of school, got a degree, and she was an engineer. Hey, living for me. She was an engineer. And so she said after getting her degree, she got a job offer in Birmingham, Alabama. So she left Macon and moved to Birmingham. And shortly after, she said when she moved to Birmingham, she had a serious boyfriend, but he sent her a Dear John letter breaking up with her not long after she had moved to Birmingham. So she said that one day she heard a voice saying, you're going to marry Dennis Meredith, who was a youth pastor at a church I guess she had been attending since she had moved to Birmingham. Dennis goes over to Dennis, and Dennis says that Lydia was not first wife material. She was loud. wore raggedy jeans oftentimes. He said, but she was pretty and she had pretty legs. And Lydia said she wasn't paying Dennis any attention. Um, she said mainly because she made more money than he did. And I think that's probably a lot of issues with women and men. A lot of times women make more money than if they make more money than the men, they actually don't want to try to have those relationships. But she said that she had a housewarming, and she said she invited Dennis over, and she said her parents said, you ought to marry him. He's a good-looking guy. He's a nice guy. She said, although she knew he wasn't making much money, she started to see him in a different light when her parents mentioned that. Lydia said she bought a nice house on a corner lot in a white neighborhood in Birmingham. And Lydia said at her housewarming party, she invited Dennis over, and her family members all grilled him at that housewarming party. And then she said her mother said she should marry him. And then she moves on down a little bit. She says that one day she invited him over to fix a light in her house. And she said she cooked him dinner. And Dennis goes on screen and he says that Lydia sure could cook. So he enjoyed it. He enjoyed the dinner, so he decided to start dating her. From there, they started dating. And one evening while they were dating, because Dennis goes on and says that his family really liked Lydia. They thought that he should marry her. He said his parents really talked her up as though she was a really great girl, and they thought he should marry her. So he said one evening they were out, and Dennis said, we should pray about getting married. And so she said that she was like, okay. And she said, then he later called and said he had changed his mind. And I put in my notes, that's a big red flag. Someone, we should get married, then, we're not going to get married. That, baby, hold your horses. We're not getting married, period. Lydia said she said bye to him, bye. Whatever you're doing, bye. And then she said she got on her knees and she started praying, and she asked God to heal her heart. And she said when she stood up, Dennis was ringing the doorbell. So she felt like they were meant to be together. So Dennis said he didn't believe in premarital sex, but that evening after he apologized and they had made up sex or whatever. He said, and it was the best he had ever had. This is what he said. If y'all watched the show, y'all saw it. He said they got married in 1978. Her sister said that Lydia loved Dennis. She adored Dennis. And they were inseparable. They were the model couple when it came down to marriage. Said they had Dennis said he told Lydia he wanted to immediately start a family. So they had their first child, who was born in 1979. I think that was Taylor. I believe his name was Taylor. I believe that was Taylor. Then the second child was born in 1981. That was Micah. And after the second son was born, Dennis got an assignment. Might have been good, but exactly. Might have been good, but there's a big, that but in the capital letters is the way but should be. It's a big but. Lydia said that he got his, wait, that the first child, second child, Lydia said that he got his first assignment for his first church. And Lydia said the sex was amazing and Dennis was an amazing dad. And until one night in 1983, when Dennis was at the church, but instead of going home, Dennis went somewhere else. And and Lydia got a call saying that Dennis had been arrested. It was around 2 a.m. Dennis recalls that it was a Monday night. Dennis had no intentions on calling Lydia once he got arrested, but the police had called her and told her that her husband had been arrested. And when she had arrived, he had his head hung down and he was in tears. Dennis had been arrested for soliciting a male planted police officer. Girl, now I don't know. I've never dated anyone that that was bisexual or may have been gay, and got straight, but I would think there would have been some signs. And maybe the fact that he has such a high appetite for relations, that may have been the problem. I don't know. Lydia said it didn't make sense to her that he had been arrested for soliciting a male Planet police officer because he was all over her and he seemed to be happy with the sex. Lydia said she didn't know what soliciting meant either. So when they told her he had been soliciting sex, she said she really didn't know how to address it because she really didn't know what it meant. Lydia said she just tuned it out. When they got in the car, she tuned him out, and she said he cried all the way home, but she was silent. She didn't say a word. She said the dentist said he was sorry, and she forgave Dennis. Dennis also said he didn't want to lose his marriage, and he didn't want to lose his family. Lydia said to herself she didn't want him to lose his church. And so she kept it quiet. She didn't let anybody know. Ginger said Lydia was naive and had black baby. Ginger, I don't even know if you call that naive or do you just call that stupid? Because there were so many signs that she just, I think, either avoided or just it was just wild. It was wild. Let's see, where was I at? So Lydia said she didn't want to lose his church, so she just kept it quiet. You said you was being nice. Thank you for being nice. Thank you. Yes, because I just don't see the very fact of there should have been other signs. You cannot tell me you were with this man all these years and there were no other signs. There were no other telltale signs that said, hey, X, Y, and Z is going on. So, she didn't want to lose the church, so she kept it quiet. Dennis said that Lydia covered him. Dennis told Lydia he wanted a change of scenery, so he decided he wanted to go to seminary school. So seminary school was in California. I call it Caliwacky. So they went to California. The family packed up, moved to California. Now they have 3 children, but she only mentioned the birth of the first 2. I don't know where the 3rd child came in to play at, but his name is Eddie. He's the youngest. So she said that Dennis was excited about rebuilding his ministry in California. During the rebuilding process, Dennis went to Africa. His ministry was growing and Lydia said he was really, really growing in the ministry. So she thought. Lydia really, when I say wasn't paying, she was not. Lydia must have been in her own world the whole time. Like she must have never taken a sit back and really thought about what was going on. Lydia said they had weathered the storm until one day she goes out to the garage and finds a video of men having same sex or men having sex with men. She confronts Dennis about the video, and Dennis said he liked to look at scorn. He loved to look at scorn. Lydia, obviously, there was a connection that took her back to. Lydia said, obviously, there was a connection because it took her back to his arrest in Alabama. He said they argued all day, and that Monday morning, he called her job and he told her if she was willing and ready, he would tell her everything. Did I skip a page? No, I didn't, I guess. I didn't skip a page. He said he would tell her everything. Girl, we got to that fast. That's what it was, Ginger. She was into being a first lady. I think she really liked. Some people get addicted to power and to the things that come along with being a first lady of a church. Not saying everybody, but there are those who do. So I think that maybe that may have been part of the problem. So that night he told Lydia he was bisexual. Just yeah. Some people, even pastors, they love that that power that it gives them to run a church and be over people and lead God. You know how people do. I think people get power just over anything they think they're the leader of. They kind of get power over. he told her that he was bisexual, and Dennis said he told her everything. He told her about his indiscretion with men and women, because he wasn't just out there just doing it one. He was doing it. He was cheating both ways. Lydia said she let him finish talking, and she said that she was ready to collapse by the time he had finished. Dennis told her it was just sex. I love you. I love my family. Lydia said we will get therapy, and we will get through this. We will work this out. I don't want a divorce. We will work this out. Dennis went into conversion therapy. I'm not sure what conversion therapy is, but he went into conversion therapy. And after a week in the clinic, they wanted to give him something to curb his sexual appetite, because they said that he was addicted to it. Lydia said they enjoyed their ex life, and she told Dennis, "You come on home," and they decided to go to a therapist. She got hot with the rainbow. Ooh, exactly. Exactly, living for me. Exactly. She told Dennis to come on home. They went to a therapist. She said the therapist diagnosed her with being a workaholic and diagnosed Dennis with having an sexual addiction. Dennis then goes to the therapist and says, Lydia isn't giving him enough X. He needs more. And Lydia said, Lydia told the therapist, how much X does he want? How much does he want? Right. And so the therapist told Lydia not to judge Dennis or his addiction, just to go along with what he wanted. Dennis said, he said to himself at that point, I'm a bisexual man, and to hell with trying to get rid of it. He said he just was tired of trying to fight it, trying to get rid of it. He had an appetite that he could not resist. He was smitten by his appetite for X. Girl, when I tell you, when I start, like I tell you, this is the first episode. When I watched it, I was like, what? I watched this a couple of weeks ago, and I was going to review it, but after watching that first episode, I was like, I'm not reviewing this. No, I'm not gonna do it. And so when the second episode came on, I was like, okay, they might be on something. I might review it. So he said that he said he was tired. He said to hell with trying to get rid of it. Dennis said he was just a hoe, period. he couldn't do it no more. He was just a whole period. Girl, he was smitten. He wasn't just hooked. He was smitten. That young man had taken him places he had never been. And I guess that was the difference, because we'll get on to that when we get closer to that guy. So Lydia said that Dennis hid that from her. She was determined to make sure the skeleton stayed hidden. She had spent all this time, y'all, this was like 20 years. She had been trying to hide the crap he had been doing. Then rumors started to spread throughout the church because Dennis had gotten sloppy, is what I put. She didn't use the word sloppy. I used the word sloppy. He had gotten really, he didn't care. He was just out there doing God knows what. Lydia said her focus was always in trying to solve a problem, how to fix it. And, you know, a lot of times if you know engineers or people who are good with math and teachers or so nurses too, we always trying to fix a problem. We never want to throw the towel in and say, okay, we can't do it. We always want to fix that issue. So Lydia said with all the gossip going on in that church, they left the church in California and they moved back to Georgia, trying to run away from the rumors, trying to run away from his sexuality. But yeah, they ran right to the sexual. They ran right to it. Dennis was assigned to a church in Georgia, and Lydia joined him in ministry as a church administrator. She said that was the first time that she had ever worked with him side by side in the church. So she joined him in ministry as the church administrator. The church had only a few members, but they grew the membership from 120 people to well over 800 members. Lydia said over the next few years, the family was thriving, and then Dennis started to feel himself. Baby, Dennis was living who Dennis was. He was just trying to be who he was. I don't know if he was feeling himself. He was just out there doing what Dennis was doing. Little did she know he was back doing what he always did. She said one day he came home and told her he had gonorrhea, and she said she was just devastated. She just couldn't believe it. That again, here she is believing Dennis, and he was back doing the same old crap again. She said then he decided that he was sorry. He wanted their marriage. He wanted their relationship. He wanted their family. So he built her their dream home. What you say? Dennis was made for the street corner, that is. Exactly. Living for me, baby. He was made for the streets. Dennis was made for the street. Lydia said she always feared that someone would find out about Dennis's past, even though she had spent all that time trying to cover it up. But some things you just can't cover up, and I don't think she realized that. And when she said that, I said, but was it really his past, though? It wasn't. It was who he was. Then her son came home one day and talked to her and Dennis and told them he was gay. Micah came out in the summer of 2000. His dad said he applauded Micah for being open because he had lived so long behind closed doors pretending that he was straight when he actually wasn't straight. Lydia said that it really bothered her when her son came out as a gay man because she was over the HIV ministry at the church. She saw what it had done to several people. I think there may have been some editing because it felt like something probably should have been put there before she jumped into that, but she jumped straight into that she was over the HIV ministry at the church, and that she was fearful that, her son would be at risk of getting HIV. She said never ever did it dawn on her that Dennis could have contracted it and given it to her, because although Dennis was out there doing his folly-lolling around, he was still engaging in X with his wife Lydia. For over 20 years, Dennis and Lydia had been hiding that Dennis was promiscuous, that he was out here doing God knows what. And then their son goes into a talk and he says that he had heard, I'm sorry, I missed the part. Her son was diagnosed with HIV at the age of, I think it was 19, or no, at the age of 20. I'm sorry. At the age of 20, he was diagnosed with having HIV. And that's when Lydia said she never thought, it never dawned on her that she could have contracted it as well, because her and her husband, he was still having, same sex relationships with other men and her at the same time, as well as other women. And anybody could have gotten anything because he was just out here doing the wally dolly. And then their son Micah said he had heard that his dad was in the park. And he said some of his friends was telling him, and he was like, in the park? Why would my dad be in the park? And said his friend was like, like they could be in the bathroom with other men, they'd be behind bushes. And Dennis said, Micah said he's like, nah, he said he tried to soothe it over. And Dennis's mother told Lydia one Sunday while they were sitting in church, just look around, and the one that he is preaching about is the one he is screwing. And she said that rumor was that he was messing around with LeVar, the guy that Dennis had begged her to hire at the church. I guess the church had like some type of school or daycare, childcare center. But Dennis had begged her to hire this guy to work at the childcare center that she had been running for over a decade. Lydia asked Dennis, was it true that he was messing around with LeVar? Dennis said it was wrong that he brought LeVar, his lover, into the school, into the church, and then he added into their home, which I thought That really is crazy. Instead of being honest and giving her a choice of if she wanted to leave the relationship or if she wanted to stay, instead he just manipulated her. And LeVar was 27 when he met Dennis at a club for gay men. And somehow or another, Dennis said that his time with LeVar was different. His relationship was different. He felt a connection with LeVar, and he was in love with LeVar. Whereas he loved Lydia, but he couldn't say he was in love with her. He actually was in love with LeVar. Dennis said that. I'm sorry. Back up. Lydia said she knew that he was in love with LeVar. She knew without a shadow of a doubt because he was different. His behavior, his mannerism, everything was different. So in 2005, Lydia decided she would tell her sons that what was going on, what their dad was doing, who had been with, so on and so forth. And the sons said that their dad's secret really ripped their family apart. Like it just said they hated LeVar. They couldn't stand LeVar. And then it goes over to Dennis, and Dennis says that in front of the congregation, family, they said in front of their congregation, in front of their family, in front of their friends, Lydia and Dennis always looked like the perfect couple. And so when she left, Dennis decided to move LeVar in to the condo that he had. And so he and LeVar were living together. Dennis said that LeVar presented a life for him that was so comforting. His son said it seemed like their dad was choosing this guy over them. And the sons speak on what this did to their family and how they watched their mom grieve for her family. Dennis finally came out to his church. By the time Dennis came out to the church, he said his church was 85% gay. Most of his church already knew that he was that he was bisexual by this time. He said some people left. He said, but the majority of them stayed. Lydia said it took some time for her to get it all together. Baby, when I say po Lydia, but I want to shake Lydia because you should have already known, baby. Lydia, you tripping. But she wrote a book called The Preacher's Wife. She said she knew if she did not forgive Dennis, her family would always be fractured. So she forgave Dennis, and they are now friends. The son said that this was years of healing. And if it had not been for the forgiveness that Lydia did with Dennis, that they probably would still be fractured. But because of that, they were able to heal, but the healing took years and it took time. And then Dennis goes and says that, my ex-wife had just cooked dinner in my husband's kitchen. Girl, Dennis, you need to be locked up in prison because you shouldn't have been fooling that lady. Live your truth. Just live your truth. Lydia's last message on the show was forgiveness will set you free. When I tell you this episode just wore me out, it wore me out. It just wore me out. Lydia was into dressing up and sitting in the front. Exactly, Ginger. I believe that's all she probably saw, because if you notice, they kept flashing pictures, and every time they go to a scene, they flash a picture. Lydia be dressed, clean, hat on, lipstick. She be made to the gods. Child, I think Lydia was in love with the lifestyle. I really believe, because they said, they had the Benz, they had the home, they had the car, they had it all, and husband still wasn't satisfied. Ain't no way. Girl, ain't no. Do you hear me living for me? Ain't no way. That's all for episode 1. Child, I was so glad to get off the episode. That episode to me was it was a struggle, because it's hard for me to listen to someone dupe another person. Just be honest. What you got to lose? Just be honest. That's all you had to do. Just be honest. Instead, you decided you would do whatever you wanted to do to this lady, and she would just take it. And she took it. And she still gave you X all the time, whenever you want. Girl, you wouldn't have been humping on me after the first time. It would have been, for you. Sorry. Sorry. You said church people knew everything. And exactly, they wasn't, I promise you, at every church he went to, they all knew the Dennis was out here doing God knows what. I promise you. I promise you, I'm willing to put cash money on it. This. You almost typed something. What was you going to type, girl? Tell me. Tell me, my girl. You see, I got my hair done. When got them braids out and got it washed because, child, who head was itching? This was mine. I almost relaxed this stuff today. When I went and sat in that chair, she said, what we doing today? I said, relax. And she said, no, we're not. No, we're not. Baby, that's what it was. The ladies was laughing behind her back because they knew. The people in that church knew. They ran out of California because they thought that the people in the church was going to put them out and they was going to have to live. It was going to follow them back to Georgia. So they ran back to Georgia. First, they was in Alabama. They got ran out of Alabama because he got arrested there. Went to California and you just out there doing the Lord only knows what. Then you run back to Georgia and you start doing it again. Girl, Dennis was wild. He was part of the Wild Wild West. He had to be part of the Wild West. Let's move on to episode 2. Episode 2 was good. Episode 3 was really great. But episode 2 was called The Stepfather's Secret. This story is about an adoption and the uncovering of the reason behind the adoption. Y'all, this story had, when I say I was sitting at the TV like this, when I tell you it was good, that episode was good. The story is about a young lady by the name of Lisa. Lisa is an assistant principal at a high school in the south suburb of Chicago. She has been teaching for 33 years, so I guess Lisa's probably in her early 50s. What? I know. She was born in 1966, so she's almost 60. But she's been teaching for 33 years. She was one of the first teachers to be certified in her school building. Lisa talks about her trauma, and she said it stems from the hidden history within her family. She was born in August of 1966. She came home with her parents that she knew in December of 1966. The issue with that one was that she had no idea that she had been adopted. She had no idea that she came home with her parents in December of 66 until she found out she was adopted. Lisa said she was raised in a good home. Her grandfather had a farm. They would go, I guess, to the grandfather's home in the summer. She said he had them a pony, so they would ride a pony. And they would go visit in the summertime. She said that then she has this memory around kindergarten, 5 years old, where she's at a doctor's office. So when you from your age of birth until about 4, you have a memory, right? But at 4 years old, something happens and your brain kicks into real grown people stuff. Trigger alert. Yes. I'm sorry. I should have put that out here. Thank you for putting that in the chat, Jinju. This is a trigger warning for people who have dealt with some of the things we're going to be talking. We're going to be talking about some real grown people issues. But from the age of about 2 to 4, the memory that you have during that stage is like a switch in your brain flips up and you go into your adult memory phase. So it's not like you lose that memory, but it becomes very shoddy. You just remember bits and pieces of that memory. So she says she can remember sitting in a doctor's office and she heard her mother say that Lisa, see, I'm putting Lydia in this. Lydia, you are gone. Your story is over. Lisa had been adopted. And she said she knew what the word meant, but the word adopted meant, but she did not know how it applied to her. So when she got where she could, she asked her mom, and she said her mother explained it to her. She said she remembers going to school, telling her friends at school, hey, I'm adopted. And one of her friends then said, well, that means that your brother is not your real brother. So she said she started snooping around their house, looking in stuff, checking drawers and things, and she found her birth certificate, but it had her adopted parents' names on it. So where the father was, it had her adopted father, and where the mother was, it had her adopted mother's name. She said that so Lisa started calling around the hospital. So I'm thinking this is when she's still relatively young. She started calling around the hospitals. She said she was having a hard time, so she took a break. 20 years later, she started to search again. Her adopted father was there when she was talking about this, and that old man, he was eating, but he was very, very handsome gentleman. Of course, her adoptive mother had passed away, and I guess we'll get to that as we read some more. Her cousin Jennifer was also at the table, and her cousin Jennifer, who is also was adopted by her parents, and she actually kind of walked Lisa through the process of trying to find her birth parents. Lisa got her original birth certificate in 2012 after searching for over 30 years for it. The original birth certificate had her biological mother's name, where her mother was living at the time of her birth, and her original name, and her mother's age, which her mother was 15 years old when Lisa was born. So, and Lisa was born to the name of Kelly Ann. The name Lisa was given to her by her adoptive parents, but she was born Kelly Ann. Lisa's mother's name was her biological mother's name, or her birth mother's name was Deborah. Lisa searched for the high school where her mother would have attended, and because she was a teacher, because Lydia keep bothering me, because Lisa was a teacher, she knew what to do, what schools to go to get an annual, to go through to find those things. So she searched for the school that her mother may have attended. She went to the school, got a high school annual, found her senior pictures, and there the picture was of Deborah Wilkerson. She obtained her bio mother's transcript, her high school transcript, and on that transcript, I believe it had her address on it. Lisa said she wanted to share it with her adoptive mother, but by the time she had found all this information out and she wanted to share it, her adoptive mother found out she had cancer and she was dying. Lisa said she felt guilty that her adoptive mother had died because this lady had given her all, had taken care of her, taken her in and fed and clothed her, because she could have been in foster system, but she did. She was adopted, and she felt privileged to have been adopted by a great family. So she said she felt guilty that her mother had passed away. So she felt guilty that her mother had passed away. She was out looking for another mother. So she just stopped looking altogether. She just took a break. I'm not doing this. So she said she was encouraged to restart her search by her daughter. She said she found a website that had people who were related to her birth mom. So she started searching that, and she cross-referenced it with Facebook. She found a gentleman on Facebook that she had that had a church and that he attended. So I'm not sure exactly how that worked, that she cross-referenced him. Got the church from his Facebook page, but we do know because she said she found him through Facebook. So I guess just seeing the church, she knew they attended the church. So on a Sunday, she said the church wasn't very far from where she lived. She drove to the church. And she said that when she got there, she was in the parking lot, and she said she was really nervous and talking to herself. And she said, finally, she said, "You've come this far, you've got to go in." So she went into the church to meet Reverend Ben. Her brother's name is Ben. The gentleman's name is Ben, rather. And she introduced herself, and she tells him who she is. And she said, "We might be kin." And she said, "Can we go somewhere and talk?" So can we go somewhere and sit and talk? And she tells him that she thinks he's her brother. He said immediately, he saw his mother in her. He said immediately. She showed him all the evidence she had found, and Lisa said she explained to him that she wanted nothing from him. She wanted nothing. She just wanted him to let her birth mother know that she was fine, that she had had a great life, and what she was doing in life, and how she had become an assistant principal. Ben then told her that her birth mother had passed on in 2004. They exchanged information, and Ben called his sister Camille. Camille, to me, I don't know, Camille was hilarious to me. She was mad. Camille was mad as fire. Camille knew that it was possible that Lisa could be their sibling. She knew it was possible because throughout her childhood, she had overheard her mother and her grandmother talking. And during those conversations, they mentioned about her, being possibly having a sister or having another child. Camille said finding out what had happened to her mother was something that scared her. She called her mother's brother and asked him if her mother had had a baby at the age of 15. I do too. I love Camille because her passion would probably be like most of us. I'm ready to get out here and scrap. Camille said, she called her mother's brother, and asked if her mother had had a baby at the age of 15. The uncle said, call your dad. Jerk. He said, call your dad and ask him. So Ben and Camille called their dad. Their dad's name is Ronald. Ronald told them what happened to their mom at the age of 15. Lisa wanted to know her birth story. On day 2 after meeting Ben, the wait was getting lonesome. She felt like they were rejecting her. They didn't want anything to do with her. You know how it is when you're kind of anxiously waiting on something and I probably didn't get it, or, it's not going to come to pass, or what have you. Ronald told Ben and Camille that yes, their mom had had a baby at the age of 15, and she had to give that child up for adoption. Deborah's mother, then it goes into a story. So let me kind of lead you into the story. It goes into a story. Deborah's mother had met her stepfather when Deborah was about 3 years old, and they had gotten married. So Deborah was not this man that her mother married was not her. He was not her dad. Goes on to say that Ronald said that he and Deborah were high school sweethearts. A friend had introduced them, and Deborah really wasn't interested in him at all, according to him. He said that he wrote Deborah's mother a letter, and he asked her to convince Deborah to give him a chance. Ronald said he went to Deborah's home on one day in the summer of 1966. And he said he said looking for Deborah. He went to Deborah's home one day in the summer of 66 looking for Deborah, and her mom told him that she was gone to visit her grandmother. Ronald said he thought she would be gone for a couple of weeks. Children oftentimes, if they live in a big city, they normally will go to a smaller city if their grandparents live in the country or whatever, go visit their grandparents in the country for a couple of weeks in the summer. Deborah was gone and didn't return until the school year started. Said she was gone all summer. And I guess it was a question in the back of Ronald's mind, but he never asked Deborah where she was at all. Ronald said when Deborah returned, she wanted him to take her to Christ Temple Church. And she said she wanted to talk to the preacher there. So he took her to the church. And he said he just stayed outside. He let her have a moment in the church with the preacher. He said, Camille was my kind of sister. Let's get some signs and go. Exactly. I said the same thing. I was like, do it. I was hoping they did it. Girl, I was typing it in my notes. And then when she said, but nobody wants to go with me, I had to go back and erase all that stuff out of there. Yes, let's go. I'm right. I'm like, yeah, let's go ahead and put some signs in this yard. But nobody wanted to do it. And I think that nobody wanted to do it because that was 2 of her mother's siblings' father. It wasn't just, you know what I'm saying? So It's unfortunate because I think that because of that, Camille's her hurt was even deeper because no one wanted to go do that with her, which I thought was crazy. So we go back to the story of when she came back for the summer. He asked Ronald to take her to the church. Deborah went inside the church, talked to the pastor. He stayed outside. Then he goes on to say they attended the same college together and they kept dating. Ronald said that he proposed to her while they were in college. And Deborah said, "Let me think about it." Poor Deborah. Can you imagine the weight she carried until the day she died? Because I can't imagine that. Ronald said Deborah asked him, "Have you ever wondered if I was really at my grandmother's house during that summer that I was missing?" And Ronald said, "I just believe you were at your grandmother's house." Ronald was a little naive too. Ronald said, Deborah said, "After I tell you this, you may not want to marry me." She said, "I'm not a virgin." Deborah didn't say who the person was, but she said she had a child that she had to give up for adoption. Ronald said he still wanted to marry Deborah. Ronald said a lot went on in Deborah's home. So I guess Deborah began to open up to him more and more as their relationship blossomed more. He said a lot went on in Deborah's home and he wasn't going to say anything about it. But when Lisa came looking for Deborah, he felt like it was the time to tell his children the truth. Ronald shared that Deborah's stepdaddy or stepfather, step trash, had been messing with her and had gotten her pregnant at the age of 15. They sent her off to have the baby and to give the baby up for adoption. Lisa, Ben finally calls her and they meet up. Lisa meets up with Ben and Camille. Now she got her brother and her sister, and they meet up together. Lisa talks about how she took all of the things she had found, all of the research she had done to find Deborah. And she said they meet up at the church. Lisa asked them if they knew who her father was. And Camille said, "Our mother's stepfather is your father." Can you imagine that? Because I've been looking for you. I've been looking for my mama, and I find my mama. Then I find out I was born under some really, really crazy circumstances. Okay, that's another weight. That's a whammy. That's not just a weight. That's a whammy. Deborah had been actually assaulted by her stepfather since the age of 7. 7. Lisa said she blacked out because of all of this information. Camille called her uncle again to ask him for the truth. The uncle rejected all of her questions. He did not want to answer any of them. He refused to answer them. And the uncle did say that Deborah wasn't the first woman that his dad had stepped out on his mother with. Fool, is you cool? Deborah wasn't a woman. Deborah was a child. She was a baby. She was a baby. This started at the age of 7. She had a baby at 15. This man, if he's still alive, may he be living in torment right now at this moment. Right now at this moment. Carrying the secret to the grave gave power to the victimizer. They talked about how Deborah never talked about it. She kept quiet about it. No one talked. The grandmother didn't talk about it. The uncle, no one talked about it in the family. And she said by never talking about it, it gave power to the victimizer. It gave power to that villain. And that is crazy. That is wild. You said younger because it started earlier. Well, they gave the age of 7. That's why I put down 7. They actually mentioned the age that it started around 7. So maybe that's the age that Deborah told Ronald, because all this information came from Ronald. None of it came from Deborah because, of course, she had passed away in 2004. So all the information came from the dad, the Ronald, the father of the other of Camille and Ben. Um, Ben and Camille went down to the courthouse because they wanted to press charges. And I'm not sure if they could have pressed charges, if the mom, if she was alive, if she could have pressed charges, which she probably could have, but they couldn't. When they went down and did some research, they only found the divorce records. But in the divorce records mentioned something about Deborah giving birth at the age of 15. You said I was saying younger than, oh yeah, definitely younger than 15. And you know what, Ginger? I'm gonna tell you this too. The uncle saying that that Deborah wasn't the only woman that his dad had stepped down his mom with, kind of made me feel like, had the dad been messing with other young girls as well? Girl, this story, when I say this was whack, the uncle is whack, the daddy, the stepdaddy whack, the grandmama whack, all of them whack. Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. Was she 14, 15 too? But they found in the divorce records something about Deborah having a baby. And I think that was part of the reason why the divorce even happened. So Camille decided she wanted to go to his house with bullhorns and signs and let the world know that he was a pedo. And she couldn't get nobody to go with her. I would have went with you, Camille. If you see this, you could have called me, girl. In fact, you can call me now if he's still living. We go down there and we hold up some signs and walk around in circles or whatever we need to do to let him know that we ain't playing. Because, child, that's disgusting. That is disgusting. Disgusting. Whew, I hope that he is forever tormented. I hope he's forever tormented. You took the innocence of a child. Thank God for Ronald. Thank God that Ronald was able to give her a life that actually she deserved. I would say she deserved. I really feel like she deserved that life. I believe that Ronald was able to offer her some solace and some love. They show pictures of Deborah. Deborah also was an educator. She was also a teacher, just like Lisa. They showed baby pictures of Lisa and Deborah, and the resemblance was canny. Oh, they look so much alike. Even Lisa smiled, looked like Deborah. She looked a lot like her mom. You said, I wonder if Lisa's mom ever looked for her. I wonder, you know what? Ronald mentioned that that Deborah wanted to find Lisa. I'm not sure if they took any steps. I think they probably wanted to see if Lisa would find them. Because he did say that Deborah said if she ever comes to find us, she had given instructions on what she wanted to do. Look more like she definitely. Lisa looked more like Deborah than the other two kids who she raised. And Lisa was raised by a whole different family. Lisa, absolutely beautiful woman. And I really like the fact that Ronald said that he started calling Lisa his daughter, because that's the way he would have accepted her had she come into his life when Deborah was living. When I tell you this story warmed my heart, it made me feel like there is some good in humanity, and there's also a lot of evil. I've told you over and over that I've done my ancestry. I have done a lot of work on ancestry. I have put some things in place on ancestry. And I will tell you this, some things my mama told me when I started doing research, you're going to find some things that may be disheartening to you, make you look at people differently, make you feel bad. And I was like, well, they ain't my secrets, mama. they ain't my secrets. But I appreciate her for the warning. because of that warning, when I did run into things that made my jaw drop, or that I had to share with my siblings, it was a little bit easier because my mom had given me that warning. So it wasn't as shocking when I called my siblings and say, you know what, that rumor we heard about blah, 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 it's true, girl. Or it's true, my brothers. My sister, there was a rumor that, of course, I have two nephews that are my age. And there was a rumor back in the day that my sister had this baby, right? And that the baby had died and that they had buried the baby, yada, yada, yada. It wasn't any secret, but no one talked about it. So when I started doing research, I called my nephew. He and I are the same age. So I'm like, hey, did you know you had a sister that was born in blah, 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 and she died? He's like, no. Well, we heard, that's when we started, like, did we hear like little tidbits of this when we were kids? And I was like, maybe we did. Maybe we did. I don't know. You just start puzzling. But when we both sat down, we actually went to dinner and we sat down at the table and we're like, we've heard this. We've heard this story. So we, from each other, started calling other family members. And my brother was like, yeah, we had a whole funeral. He said, I remember because it was a little bitty box. And I remember we took it out to the cemetery and we buried her in Babyland. And I was like, she doesn't have a headstone. I went to the cemetery. There's no headstone out there. We need to get her headstone. And my nephew's like, yeah, we got to get a headstone out there. And me and my mom actually went out there. This was before she got sick. And we looked and we looked and we looked. That's how we found out there was no headstone. And when I mentioned it to my mom was like, I don't know, that was so long ago. You know how older people, oh, that was so long ago, girl, I don't remember that. She remembered it because she paid for the funeral. Lady, her and my dad paid for the funeral. So how did you not remember it? But when I talked to one of my cousins, my cousin, without me even mentioning the name, gave me the name of the daughter, told me how long she lived, what happened. Y'all. So I'm telling you, there are so many secrets that you can uncover if you start doing your ancestry. So if you do your ancestry, be prepared. Be prepared for what may be, what may not be, what can be, because the secrets can be, oh my gosh. When I tell you, found a secret out about my grandpa, I was like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Ronald was a good guy. He was a good guy. He was a good guy. Yeah, I'm telling you, doing ancestry, I found out a secret about my own grandfather, my mom's dad. And when I told my mom, she was quite a bit up in age. She opened up and started telling me some stuff that she probably wouldn't have told me had I not found out this secret about my grandfather. And that's how water under the bridge. But people did some strange stuff back in the day. Some strange stuff. Funerals are where most secrets come to light. They are. They definitely are. But you know what? Just like Deborah and her stepfather and her mom covering up that secret for all those years, it didn't even come out of the funeral. Isn't that crazy? It didn't even come out of the funeral. Although Camille had heard scuffling about it, she didn't even know for certain, right? Ronald knew. He never indulged it to his children. So you have those families that hold those secrets and that they don't know about. I have a friend who, once I started doing ancestry and I got really deep into it, she asked me to help her. And in helping her, she did a 23andMe, and so did her mom and all of her mom's sisters. And come to find that her mom and her mom's sisters were half sisters. And they're like, what is going on? Well, this can't be right. Oh, we knew this was a fluke. And so they went to their mother, who was still living, and crying, she told them the whole story. I'm not going to tell their business because it's their business, but Just imagine that. Literally, just imagine that. So the next episode is Unlocking Family Secrets. Episode 3 is about the husband's secret. Oh, that's the ambulance. I was like, I hear a whistle or something. Is about the husband's secrets, y'all. The episode 3 is a gut punch. I'm gonna do it. If I don't do it tomorrow evening, I will do it Sunday. But I want to do it tomorrow evening. When I tell you the Family Secrets episode with the husband's secret, woo, baby. Y'all go watch it so we can come back down here and meet. I'll put up when I'm gonna do it. It'll probably be tomorrow evening or Sunday afternoon. But when I tell you that episode had me like, what? You say he was your cousin? Bobby Love was your cousin? Bobby Love. When she said he was Bobby Love, girl, I was not expecting any of that. When I say I wasn't expecting, I was not expecting none of that. When I say none of that, I wasn't expecting none of that. I done got sleep in my eyes and start bucking. I wasn't expecting Bobby Love to be Bobby Love was a booger bear, baby. And Bobby Love had lived 30-some years running from the law. But when Ginger, episode 3 is good. When I say is good, you're going to enjoy episode 3. I got to get my Bell Collectives done. I probably will do all of the episodes together. I may do some pre-recorded though, because I want to catch up on Bell Collective. I finally got my cousin in that same status right now. Oh, I literally got it. What do you mean same status? Oh, living like Bobby Love. Not living like Bobby Love, girl. Please say it ain't true. Please say he not living like Bobby Love. Please say it ain't true. Y'all bought this cute little computer stand from the TikTok. I absolutely love it. I've been using it all week, but I brought it downstairs and put it on my little TV tray. So you said yes, man. Oh my God. Not you having a Bobby Love him. Girl, because Bobby Love was something else. But Bobby Love was a good man. He loved his wife once he finally flipped the script and got his head together. He loved his wife and his wife loved him. But did she look kind of old to be having a child in 1998? Maybe that's just me. Okay. I don't know if you have, girl, we done talked about so much, ain't no telling. But yeah, Bobby Love's story. And they done named all them kids last name Love. All the children the Christian Love, David Love, Michael Love. Girl, your last name ain't Love. But y'all gotta watch it. I'm not gonna tell it. If you haven't watched it, I'm not gonna tell it. I'm not gonna tell it till we do the review. But I enjoyed episode 1 and 2. 2 better than 1. I enjoyed 2 because I'm glad that there was a good ending to that story. I'm glad that Lisa found her birth mother, although she had passed on. I'm glad that she was able to have some resolve to that. And I'm glad that Ronald was there to pick up the pieces and be a father figure, although she had a father in her life. Hey, Lady Sparkle. Where's my baby, Lady Ro? I did miss you and Ginger having. Hey, Living. Hey, everybody. Hey, we glad you're here. But child, yes, when I tell you that episode 3, it's worth the watch. It is worth the watch. But episode 2 was good. Episode 1, I don't know. It was okay. I just felt like you had 2 idiots that was playing on each other. And here we got a visitor coming to visit us. But I really feel like Dennis played on Lydia's top, and Lydia just loved whatever was coming along with being a part of a preacher's wife, honey. Just too much. Just too much. Anywho, you guys, I am going to make me a salad because I haven't had anything to eat since like 11 o'clock this morning. So I'm going to make me a salad, drink me a big tall glass of water, and I'm going to hit the hay because this girl is sleepy. I got my hair trimmed just a little bit, but I got a lot of curls, a lot of curls. I really want to relax my hair, but this girl is not trying to hit. I just ate one. We say I just ate one. Got out of my head. Yes, the unlock. Yes, you saw. Did you see the Unlock series? They are good. They are good. Good night, Ginger. Pretty as a picture. I think I'm going to get some more. I love you, boo. Thank you, Sparkles. You guys have a great night. If no one told you today that they love you, I love you. And there's nothing you can do about it. Y'all have a good night. Bye-bye.